Hi everybody, we are going to download MySQL for Windows. And to do this, we just click or we just Google for MySQL, and in the results, we click on Downloads. And here you have the different downloads of MySQL. We are going to skip the Enterprise Edition, the cluster, and we're going directly to the MySQL community downloads. And we click on this, and we see all the different community downloads. And here we are most interested in the community server, which is going to contain the databases and the procedures that we are going to use, but we are going to use the MySQL workbench to actually work with the database, connect to it, and look at the database and change the values in the database or manipulate the database. So we can use the database for machine learning algorithms or just dashboards. But in order to get all of these applications, we just click on the MySQL installer for Windows. We click on this, and here you see different installers, the web installer and the full installer. And we are clicking on the full installer because then we download everything right at the onset. And here we get to the login page where you can either log in with your Oracle web account, or you can sign up for a Oracle web account, or you can just click here, no thanks, just start my download, and we are going to use it. So here we just save our file and wait a bit. Now that the file is downloaded, we can just click the file and open it. This will open the installer program, and we just have to wait a bit. We want this to make a change on our computer. And again. And now the installer is ready to use. So here we can choose the setup type. And we are going with the developer default because this installs all of the programs which are useful for development purposes. Most importantly, it installs the MySQL server and it installs the MySQL workbench. If you want the computer to act as a server only, so that other computers can connect to your computer, then you would choose server only. And if you do not want to have the database on your computer, then you can click the client only, because then you can just use, for example, Workbench to connect to a different server. But we are going to have everything on our computer, so we choose the developer default. And we click here, and now it is checking requirements. And one requirement which is not satisfied on my computer is that I have not downloaded the Visual Studio to program. I'm using a different IDE. So here I can just click next and yes. So now these are ready to install, but if these are saying ready to download, then you can just click the execute button to download first, and then you can install. And if the download is not working the first time, you can just click the try again button until all the status bar here is ready to install. This is going to take a bit of time, so we just fast forward. So, after a cup of tea, you will see something like this. Everything is completely installed. So now we can click Next, and here we are going to configure these different programs. So we are going to get back to this product configuration page later on, several times. So here we are going to, under type and networking, choose the config type. It should be development computer. But here you can choose other configuration types, like if you are going to only have a server, or it's going to be a dedicated computer with only MySQL on it. But we are choosing the development computer. Everything else can also be in the containing the default values. And we are going to use a strong password encryption, but we are going to choose something very simple for the root password. This is the most important password that you use. We are going to just create a weak password in our case. We can change this at a later stage, but we are not going to use this install for anything critical, so we just leave it at that. Just make sure that you choose a password that you can easily remember. And we are also going to add a user account. So for example, we can choose an admin user, and the role is a database admin. And then this user has the rights to perform all tasks. But you can create other users with other user rights. But our first user is the database admin. And now we can choose something really simple here as well, because we are not using this installation for anything very critical. After clicking Next, we come here and we see the Windows service name. This is quite important because this is actually what we are going to, or the name of the database service. So whenever we open the MySQL workbench, we are going to connect to this instance. And we just have the start the MySQL server at system startup. And we just click Next. So here we are going to apply the configurations one by one. So after fast forwarding, it just took 1 more minute. Then we see that the configuration was successful, and then we can click continue. So here we see that the configuration for MySQL server is complete. So now for the MySQL router, and here we can just leave everything in with the default values, click finish, and configuration not needed. And then we are going to connect to the server, because we are going to get some examples here. And here you have to type the root password and you have to click check. And now you can see that the connection succeeded. So then we can click next. So now we can apply the configuration again. And it was successful. So now we can click next and our installation is actually complete. So now we can just click finish and the workbench and the shell will open up. So this is the shell and this is the workbench. Both of these programs can be used to access the database. The shell works by typing commands here, but we are not using the shell in this class, so we just close it. And now we have the MySQL workbench, and we have the MySQL connections here, and we have a local database, a local instance, which is on our computer, and it's called MySQL 8.0. And if you click on this, then you can connect to the server, and you can use the root user with the root password. And if you want to avoid typing the password again and again, you can save password in Vault and click OK. And MySQL has successfully connected to our database and opened up.